everyone, I am Rebecca from ChemKnits, and welcome to another 2021 ChemKnits Chanukah bonus video. Tonight we are going to dye a sparkle colorway with a tiny bit of an investigation in here. We are going to compare two different yarn bases from Wool to Dye For, Sheila's Sparkle and Sheila's Glitter. Both of these yarn bases are 75% superwash merino, 20% nylon, and 5% Stellina. But the Stellina in Sheila's Sparkle is silver, and the Stellina in Sheila's Glitter is gold. Before I jump in to talk about the project further, subscribe, like, turn on notifications. But now let's go look at these two yarn bases. I don't know if you can really tell that it's more gold on camera right now. Here's our gold, and here is the Sheila's Sparkle, which is the same fiber content, just with silver toned Stellina. But you can see how the Stellina makes the silver skein feel a slightly more gray, and the gold one feels slightly more yellow. In person, you definitely can tell the difference in the metallic colors though. So even though for this Chanukah colorway, we are dyeing the gold Stellina version, I thought that in the first pan, why not use this silver Stellina sample? So that way we can just see what the different colors of Stellina, like what impact that has on the final colorway. Mainly because I'm curious how much of an impact it makes, which will help me decide if I want to pick the gold sparkle or silver sparkle going forward. Yeah, I'm definitely curious if on camera what, if any, distinction you might notice between the gold and the silver right here. But anyway, let's go pre-soak the yarn. Oh, and I have added an orange zip tie to our Soul Silver Sparkle skein. I am pre-soaking all of the yarn in some plain tap water for at least 30 minutes, so it is well saturated. There's no acid here in the bucket yet. With Stellina, you can, I guess with time and a lot of exposure to citric acid, it can start to lose some of its shine. This is not something that I have noticed personally yet, but we aren't really using citric acid today, and it's harder to make things way too acidic with vinegar. So a lot of dyers recommend using vinegar instead of citric acid on sparkle yarn. Today I am going to use ParadiseFibers acid dyes in violet, green, gray, and potentially a little bit blue. Now, as I showed in my review of these acid dyes, this green is actually a really, really lovely teal. And so I'm very excited to play with all of these colors together. They are very, very pigmented, a bit expensive, but when I was thinking about the colors I wanted to use today, I realized that these fit the palette that I wanted really, really well. And I have a lot of them. So let's go and start playing with these colors. In this 4-inch deep, full-size catering steam pan, I've already added 3 tablespoons of white vinegar, and now I am adding 8 cups of water. And to our pan, I am going to add 1 of our silver skeins and 2 gold. These skeins are a lot longer than the mini skeins that we used for Chanukah. So as I add it in, they are going to be scrunched a bit, and I'm going to try to help sort of spread things out. We will need multiple flips as we go about this, but yeah, I'm assuming that I won't notice much of a difference between the sparkle until the yarn is dry, but I am excited. So now I am going to start heating things up and then go get ready to work with dry dye powder. I also have a skein of Knit Picks Swish DK, which is 100% superwash merino, that I'm going to have off camera to use as a yarn mop to wipe my gloves, any dye on my gloves onto while filming this video. And I'll pull out other yarn mops as needed if this gets really saturated. Whenever I am dealing with dry dye powder, I wear my deluxe rubber respirator mask, safety glasses, and gloves. And I'm starting with the color Violet. Now I'm not doing my typical diagonals yet. I'm going mostly across. I feel like the placement will become
more random, the more I flip. But for now, I'm adding this first layer of dye just across. And of course, all of the tools and equipment that I am using in this video are dedicated for dyeing yarn and are not also used for the preparation of food. I enjoy painting or hand painting yarn with the dry powders directly a bit more than I like, well, it depends. I like making dye stocks and then randomly applying the colors. But I also just really, really enjoy using the powders directly. I think it aids with me being really random with my placement, even though we are not yet super random. I think it helps with that, and it gives like a blend and softness that is fun and very intentional. Next up is our green, which you will soon see is a glorious teal. We really may not end up needing very much blue, if at all. And you know what? Let's put some of this down at this end too. I really like the way these two colors are playing together. Okay, coming over. Ooh, I think they look pretty when they get on top of each other too. So yeah, this teal, or this green, is way more of a teal color, and so very pretty, but just different. I find the texture of the teal to be extremely dry and unclumped, and so it very much falls really easily. But oh, this is pigmented. I'm going to reduce the heat. It's a bit less steamy. I don't want to introduce a lot of steaminess into our colors. But so with our gray, I am mostly focusing on areas that are still white. I don't necessarily need it to like border our purple and teal, but I'm just kind of going everywhere else that might need a bit more color. And as I mentioned, I'm planning on going more random as we get through all of this yarn. One of my big inspirations for this colorway was the October ChemKnits dye-along, where I did this lightning colorway and it was stormy, and I really enjoyed that. But I didn't want to just stick with purple and gray. I wanted to have more colors in here, especially since the other bonus colorway that I've done for Chanukah so far is so solid. I wanted to have more tones in here. And in a moment, I will fix the white balance so we can see a little better.
I think that's a little closer to the color that I see in person. It's feeling very stormy. I love the mix of the colors here, and I don't think the blue is needed. I'm really curious to see how the gold versus silver will pop on what is ultimately a fairly cool toned colorway, even though the purple is a bit warm. But I think that it could, I don't know if it'll feel like lightning to me or not. Either way, I wanted to play with these colors so much. And so now I am going to go ahead and let this sit, but I'm not sure how long. Yeah, there's still a bunch of color left in here. Some have definitely absorbed, some will mute these colors a little bit as we continue to layer. But I think that I will wait 10 minutes and then we'll come back. It has been 10 minutes and, well, look at that. That is what we love to see. I've had questions about why I use a metal spoon to check versus, say, like a plastic one, or a metal spoon to check versus, say, a white spoon. And the reason is that you can get a good sense of the color here, but all the white spoons I have are plastic and might melt in warm water. And before I get suited back up with my mask, we are gonna flip, and ooh, we've got some great color penetration already. I think that these colors strike pretty quickly, but also it's great that we see a lot of it moving through. And so as we dye the second side, well, I guess I'll talk about that in a minute. But the thing about this that is a good sign for us is that we probably do not need to do quite as many flips. I know we'll need to do at least one more flip, but now I'm gonna go put on my mask, safety glasses, and gloves, and we will start adding dye to this side. I feel like there's always a delicate balance between wanting the colors to strike fast enough so they stay where you place them, but wanting them to strike slow enough so that they go through multiple layers of yarn. And really it depends on the total circumstance and what kind of effect you are trying to achieve with your colorway. If I wanted to get more speckles, I would mix these dyes with citric acid powder, but I don't know if I'd try that on a sparkle yarn. On a sparkle yarn, I would probably mix it with sugar to dilute the dye a little bit, but still help me spread, but not adding too much acid that could dull our Stellina. When I layered on colors this time, I tried to focus a bit on where the colors were placed already. I wasn't going to worry about having the green on top of the purple, but I tried to add purple on top of purple, green on top of green regions, and then the gray anywhere else where I felt we needed more color. This is a way that while we still might have some overall blending of a lot of these colors, but this type of placement helps maintain some of the differences that we see as well. Once I finished adding on this second round of color, I set a new timer for 10 minutes and then came back to check and see if all of the dye had absorbed. Okay, it's been 15 minutes and ooh, we still have some color. There's a lot that's clear, but also a lot that is not quite yet. I wonder if, this time it's possible that there's some areas that I did not press down nearly as much. So I'm gonna give it a good all over press and we'll wait 5 more minutes. I'm back. There's still a tiny bit, but most of it is in the yarn, so I'm not going to worry. And we are going to open up the skeins, and our coverage so far is amazing. I am really, really happy with that actually. I think that I might focus on just the gray and the purple for the next round because I'm feeling fairly satisfied with the amount of green. But the reason why I stopped the time lapse and came in to do this more real time is that I had a feeling that things were going rather well in terms of coverage. And yeah, I'm very excited. So let's add some more color. In my review of the ParadiseFibers acid dyes, when I speckled with them, I felt like they spread a fair amount. And I think that this is another confirmation of that. Whatever is mixed in, they don't strike nearly as quickly as some other dye powders, even though they still strike well and strike fast. And so this, I guess, gives us a little bit more time to have that color spread. Or actually, maybe it's that the colors are just really, really, really pigmented and that's contributing to it. I'm not entirely sure, but either way, I like the direction this colorway is going. Anyway, this time I started with adding more of the gray to make sure I had enough of that on each of the skeins, and then came back in with our purple. I set a timer for 10 minutes, and right after I set the timer, I came back in and I smushed the color down one more time just to make sure I had taken care of that. But then after those 10 minutes, I picked up each of the skeins and moved them a bit to see if there were any areas where I thought I needed more color, knowing that there might be a handful of areas, but probably not that many. It's been 5 minutes since I last added dye, and I'm now coming in with 8 cups of water with 3 tablespoons of white vinegar in it. And we are going to now heat this for longer. And I'm moving the yarn a bit. Looks like a lot of the color has set already. There are a few light patches, but I'm not mad. It's still a very moody and fun colorway. So now I'm going to turn up the heat and heat this for 25 more minutes. All right. I'm now going to remove the yarn, and we can still tell the difference between our silver sparkle, because it has the orangish zip tie, and our golden. Ooh, which I can't quite yet tell, and the white balance is now real low, which is still super sparkly, but I can kind of see the color difference, but I think it'll be more apparent once it's dry. So anyway, I'm gonna let this yarn cool completely and then we'll wash it. But in the meantime, we have our Yarn Mop, and I am going to take this and pop it in here. For at least a bit, I will probably reuse the same mop as I do the next round, but I want to let it soak up and have a little bit of time in here to set the color. And there's a little bit more dye in the pan. There's still a little bit more in there, but I am going to let this soak in here. The heat is still on for 5 to 10 minutes. Actually, I'm going to turn off the heat so we can start things cooling, so then I can reset for round 2, and I'll just let this sit in here for a bit. We will heat set it properly at the very end. It's only been about 10 minutes. Aha! I'm always like, where is my zip tie? But I'm going to remove this, and we are going to layer on more color. But the difference now is that these colors shouldn't squeeze out, which means that we have, I guess, a clean work surface again. And now I am going to reset the dye baths, and off camera we're going to dye another round of this colorway. I just removed my second batch, and oh dear, hopefully I didn't make a tangle, as instead of picking up the whole thing I just picked up a bit. So the heat is still on this time, and I am gonna let this sit in here for 30 minutes. And then I'll turn off the heat, let it cool, and wash it off camera. But I just wanted to show where we were at when I put it in here. But now I will see you while we go wash our yarn. Let's wash our sparkly yarn. I am really happy with this colorway. And I think that the ParadiseFibers acid dyes work really well for this technique. I was considering using like electric violet and teal from Dharma, but I didn't know how much I had left. And so I didn't know if I was gonna have enough to do all of the yarn. That's great, I'm not seeing bleeding. I didn't know if I was gonna have enough of the dyes to get the color that I wanted on the yarn. And then when I realized that these ParadiseFibers colors fit exactly what I was going for, and you just don't. That's why we went in that direction. But anyway, I am very happy with this color. It will look lighter once it's dry, but oof, it is so sparkly. You can see that super well, and I'm not seeing any color bleeding. So I'm gonna finish rinsing out the soap. Then I'm going to put the yarn through my spin dryer, hang it up to dry, and we'll come back to see the finished yarn. The difference between the silver and the gold Stellina is really subtle. But before I zoom in and we try to get a closer look on how those sparkles affect the colorway, I have to say I love the way this turned out. Oh, I am so happy with the way that these colors have spread, and I think that this can be turned into something really magical. I am so proud and happy with this colorway, and it always, I mean, I'm proud and happy with a lot of the colorways I create, but whenever I'm dyeing up a lot for like a mystery colorway, I do always feel a little more pressure. And so this fits the direction I was wanting to go with this colorway, and I'm thrilled. All right, I tried to pick a similar spot to look at the silver versus gold. And they're both incredibly sparkly, but I'm not sure. The differences are super subtle in the tones. Okay, this might be a little closer, that, I mean, I think that you can barely see the little bit of contrast from the gold versus the silver. And I have to say, I really, really like the gold. The differences are so subtle, but I almost feel like there's a little bit more contrast with the gold in a way that feels really, really fun. The difference between the silver and gold is hard to quantify because ultimately it is so incredibly subtle. Whether the sparkles have a little bit of a warmer finish with the gold or a cooler finish with the silver, because the gold isn't even like as golden as like my nails are, so it's not, the difference isn't that extreme, and in light where things are really sparkly, it's nearly impossible to tell the difference. I think that if I wasn't seeing them side by side, I would be really, really happy and just as thrilled with the silver. But if I have to pick, I prefer the gold. I think that it pops a little bit more from the colorway because there's a tiny bit more contrast, which is not something I feel like really picks up on camera very well, but in person, like looking at it, I can kind of see these highlights, these golden highlights from a couple feet away, and it's fun and it makes you smile. You can see the Stellina, the silver Stellina as well, but maybe it's because we have this gray in here and there are all these pops of a silver color basically in the yarn that it doesn't stand out as much. And so I'm really, really surprised. I mean, I was hoping that I would love the gold, but I think that, yeah, it could be fun playing with it if you're going to do a more warm tone colorway, maybe going with the silver, or cool tone going with the gold, if you want to pay attention to the Stellina more than just when you see the shimmer and shine, because they both shimmer and shine. They are both super sparkly, and because I have a soft box with fairly even light, it's a little harder to see, but shining like a little flashlight on, you can get the sparkle. I also want to add that this Sheila's glitter and sparkle base is so soft. It is such a lovely yarn base, and I'm excited to work with this one again in the future. I really like it. I'm not even really talking about the colorway very much, which I adore, but it's funny, part of me, and while it was on the drying rack, thought, man, the difference between the silver and gold, like, isn't really that different. And so maybe my conclusion at the end of this will be, it doesn't really matter if you have silver versus gold, and it doesn't really matter that there's not as much gold Stellina on the market in terms of bare yarn. But, I mean, I think that it's really fun to have the gold. And so it's such a subtle difference, such an absolutely subtle difference, that if you are setting up your own shop, you know, pick the one that you like the best. There's no reason why you absolutely have to have both. But as another element to play with color on yarn, I really enjoy having both silver and gold available to me, and I'm just really excited. We had a lovely yarn mop as part of this video, and the ParadiseFibers dyes are really pigmented. I'm not sure what it is about them. They seem to strike a little bit slower than some other acid dyes I have. And that is most obvious to me, like on the yarn mop. When I go and wipe off my fingers, there is so much pigment left on the gloves, and it moves around like a fair amount onto that yarn. And yeah, so they are just super pigmented. I mean, maybe that's why it takes more time to strike, just because they are really pigmented. But I love how this mop turned out, and I'm really excited to play with this dye line more in the future. Oh my goodness, I love the way these colors play together so much. I am so proud of how this turned out. So here we go, the final colorway for Hanukkah 2021. Wow. But don't worry, if you missed one of the other videos from the 2021 ChemKnits Hanukkah special, I do have a whole playlist of all of the videos, so you can go and catch up on any that you missed. And I actually have one more thing in store for all of you. There is one video left for the 2021 ChemKnits Chanukah special, and that is a vlog that will take you behind the scenes as I am creating the videos, planning the videos, basically sharing everything that I couldn't share because I don't want to give spoilers while I'm filming these videos. I have not yet edited the vlog, so it might be a tiny bit long, but I really hope that you will enjoy this last little look at everything that I poured into this special series. In editing this video, I think it's really hard on camera to see the difference between the silver and gold Stellina. But as I said, I think both of them are really, really pretty, and really it comes down to the type of colorway that you want to create. And I'll be on the lookout for more things with gold Stellina in the future. When you're planning different colorways and developing colorways, you want to pay attention to the colors. Obviously, the colors are very important, but also you need to pay attention to the actual dyes that you're using, because some colors break. Some colors strike really fast, some strike really slow. And so when you're considering what colors you want to use, you should also consider how they behave, and therefore, will they do what you want them to do on the yarn? And I'm incredibly thrilled with what the ParadiseFibers did on this colorway. I am so proud of it, and I achieved the effect I was going for, and it always feels really awesome when things work out that way. I am Rebecca from ChemKnits, and please make sure you are subscribed to the ChemKnits Tutorials YouTube channel. Outside of Chanukah, and I mean, we've gone a few nights past Chanukah, I publish at least 2 new videos every single week, even through the holidays and winter break, and you don't want to miss any of it. While you're at it, please give this video a like and leave a comment below to let me know what kinds of colors and yarn you want to see me play with in the future. Check out the video description for other ways you can help support the channel. I have a Patreon and an Etsy shop filled with hand-dyed yarn, and you can also find all of my social media handles down in the description. But now, since this was the last official colorway that I dyed for Chanukah 2021, which one was your favorite? Do you have a favorite, or do you love them all? Please let me know in the comments below. I love hearing what you loved, what maybe you didn't love. I consider it all as I decide what I want to film going forward. Belated Happy Chanukah, everyone, and thank you so much for watching.